Should I do that? Probably.
Good evening, everyone. Happy May 14th. Thank you for joining the Town of Cedar Lake Stormwater Board meeting today. If you would please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Wendy, can you please lead us in a roll call?
Ryan Leesick.
Here.
Patrick Conlon.
Here.
Benji Kinchlow is absent. Don Allison.
Here.
David Austin, absent. Jeff Wunke.
Here.
Eric Bosma.
Here.
Julie Rivera. Here. And myself, Wendy Schmidt. Here.
All right, in review of the minutes from April 4th, our last Stormwater Board meeting, was there any questions or comments? All right, can I receive a motion to approve the minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from April 4th.
And I'll second it.
Ryan Leesick.
Yes.
Patrick Conlon.
Yes.
Okay, in review of the claims for fund number 650, we have $19,493.68. Is there any questions related to any of the items that pertain to this invoice?
I just wanted a little bit of clarification. I don't know if I've seen this on the docket before, but the MS4 site inspections, I don't know, Don, is that something that typically hits? How often?
I believe this is the typical fund that those are taken from.
But I mean, how often do we see that? I don't remember seeing it on every single.
So we do quarterly inspections.
Okay.
So you'd often see more of a hit when we do, I think this is for our Q2
Gotcha.
inspections, and then you'll see smaller hits when we're doing re-inspections or violation inspections.
Okay.
So
Okay.
this one's probably Q2 inspection.
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion to approve the docket in the amount of $19,493.68.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Ryan Leesick.
Yes.
Patrick Conlon.
Yes.
All right, moving on to old business, we have item A, 128th Place and Wrightwood Improvements.
So this is that small, older project up in Oak Shades, 128th and Wrightwood. That work has been completed as of about 2 weeks ago or so. It's all paved, it's the curbs in, the additional inlet riprap, it's all done.
All done.
All done.
How's it holding up with this monsoon we're going through?
I don't know, I've been back over to look at it.
TJ, one of my field staff, looked at it when it was raining last week, said it was holding up pretty good.
I think it's okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for Miss Wilson was kind of keeping that curb at rolled through the curve, because when the runoff kind of bypassed some of those upstream inlets, it would just go straight down her driveway. So now we have some redundancy of adding an inlet, keeping it high, so she's got a 3.5-inch curb left to go over her driveway, but kind of holds everything in the road now. So, as far as I know, it's working pretty well.
Good deal, thank you. Should we move that off of old business then?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Once we get invoicing, it'll go through that same docket, and then we'll strip it out of our budget.
All right, sounds good. So please take that off of old business, Wendy. Moving on to update items, we have item number A, which is the Eric Hines property at 7513 West 136th Avenue.
No update on that one. That is on your scoring criteria in new business.
Okay. I assume same thing with Schubert and Dodge Street.
Correct.
Woods of Cedar Creek, any update there? Maybe some new easements have come into play?
So I believe every easement has been signed for Woods of Cedar Creek except one, and one that's being prepared right now. So that would be the Lapham parcel, which I believe is lot 13.
He has been down here twice to sign it, and nobody knows what he's supposed to sign.
So I'm getting there.
Okay.
So he's always had one that he needs to sign, but we've told him he needs a second one, which is being prepared. So he wants to sign them both at the same time. So until we can get that thing done, he's waiting on us. So he is here. So the drainage easement has been ready to be signed all along. He offered his property up for access to the corridor. So we're preparing an ingress egress easement off of 142nd Place. So that one's underway. Once that's vetted through legal, both will be ready to sign and they'll be ready to go.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'll address this now. Mr. Tiemans is here on lot 14. He asked that we extend our pipe into his property, and we will. But that's still within an existing easement, hence we don't need something from you.
And a paperwork to sign, I'll sign it right now.
We don't need anything from you.
He said it's still in the
Yeah.
existing one.
We're good.
Yeah, we're good. So,
Thank you.
just to give you an update.
All right, thanks for the update, and thanks for the front office of the town working through that. And thanks for that Woods of Cedar Creek neighbors.
Yep, I mean, we updated some of the plans, they're already 3 years old now.
Yeah.
But that's kind of part of the scoring stuff, so, I mean, the estimate really didn't change a whole lot, but that will be a project that will be most likely quoted out. The estimate's a little below 150,000, so it's kind of right on the brink of quoting and bidding. 150 is the break.
Yeah.
So we scoped it at 130 to 150 projects, so as we go through the scoring and rankings, it's gonna be a debate, but that one will not be completed by Public Works.
No.
So hence it's more expensive than the other ones on the list. So it's
Understood.
just a bigger project,
Understood.
so.
Moving on to update item D, we have Angie Mikolajczyk, 12806 Lee Court.
I don't have any updates on this one. I know Miss Mikolajczyk has come to, Plan Commission meetings and voiced her concerns. It was my understanding with direction from this board that we were gonna wait potentially to combine this with if the western property owner ever came before Plan Commission to do something, so we can center it on the property line. If not, we have a 15-foot area there to work in to mitigate that item. So that's really kind of what the pleasure of the board is at this stance.
Did you see this?
No, I didn't look down yet. Okay. I think they're all the same.
Oh, okay, I didn't know you noticed that, all right.
Okay. Let's discuss this in public comment. Yeah, and we'll have Mrs. Mikolajczyk come on up here and we'll discuss it. She brought some really nice photos. I like the before and after.
Is there a solution to this, John, or no? If you guys have looked at it, is there anything that you're recommending at this point in time, in lieu of the west property owner not?
I mean, it would be snug, but yes, something can be done.
Okay.
It's literally dead on, so we have 15-foot drainage easement back there from the original platting of Lee's Cove, but it's literally 15 feet from property line to deck. So unless we ran a pipe, we're essentially turning in that little gap into a drainage swale. I mean, you could do a perforated tile potentially and try to soak it up that way in lieu of a swale, which would just, I mean, the problem with the swale is it kind of limits the use of that strip then, in some respects, to the homeowner. So we have plenty of fall to the north. That's not the issue. This is more today.
I believe it's 17 feet, sir.
Yeah.
when I measured, made sure. Because on my, well, I don't even want to wait for public comment. The permit shows 38 feet, but my survey shows 27 on one side of the house and 30 on the other.
It's literally right up to the steps. So, we can discuss it later, if you want.
Yeah, let's wait till public comment, have her come up here. All right, so moving on to Public Works projects, we have the Julianne Gibbons property at 6425 West 145th Street.
Except for the restoration of
Seeding.
her property, the grass and topsoil is done. So, and she's very happy.
Is it working with some of the rain?
It's working.
Yeah,
Come on up here.
And it's
Just
working.
state your name and your proper
Signature, that's fine for her.
Yeah, you guys state my name and my address. Julianne Gibbons, 6425 West 145th Avenue, Cedar Lake, 46303. First off, I want to say thank you. Eric rocks, whatever he makes, he should be making double.
Yeah.
He is a fantastic man. I have no river running in the front. I have no river running in the back. My question is, when are we gonna get the culvert dug out and the stuff done?
Which
Because I was
culvert?
hoping
The
that
one across
would
the
be the
street
last
is all
time.
full again.
Oh, to the north?
Yeah.
Oh, that wasn't taken out yet?
No, we haven't done it yet.
Okay. You're
Yeah,
best
we
man in the
will do
world.
that within the next
Yo,
week
bro.
or two. Probably next week or two, and then Kubiak has to get the topsoil. And then we can regrade the yard. He was waiting for it to all settle so we can,
Oh, it's settled.
yeah, it's settled good enough. We were out there last week, so yeah.
So, thanks guys, appreciate it. Hope you don't never see my face again. And I'm sure you hope so too.
I'll still see you, Joey.
All right, thank you very much, and thank Eric, and thank you for your team
Yeah,
pushing that forward.
I didn't do it all by
Bye,
myself,
guys.
you guys did it too.
All right, moving on to the Justin Latz property update on 7320 West 140th Place.
This is in Tim's court. We went out there, we painted the southwest corner property corner to basically give him an eye about where our property line is and if he can get the project done without going to the west of that line. Otherwise, if he can't, then we need to somehow go back to David and see how he wants to potentially get an easement from the western property adjoiner. Which it doesn't sound like he knows that right now. That's the gentleman who passed away 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
His kids are living there now.
Yeah.
So, we painted it. We painted it probably close to 3 weeks ago. I think I've told him 5 times to go look at it, and he hasn't looked at it yet. So, I don't know. It's gonna be up to him if he can even do it. If he can't do it, then we're back to needing that easement.
Yeah, 'cause I don't know if we could even get a machine back there. I have no
It's
idea.
snug. I mean, the corner is really easy to find, but I would say half of those trees probably aren't his.
Yeah, that's,
I mean, it's brush. Some of the bigger ones are his, but there's a lot of stuff there. So, I don't know. That one's kind of on Tim before, I mean, because I don't think we're going to remove the culvert under 140th until we do the grading. I think that would be a bad idea.
yeah. And we were gonna do that like 2.5 years ago. So-
Yeah, it's already saw cut,
Yeah.
so it's ready to go, but we need to do that ditch first. I don't want to open that culvert up without that ditch being reshaped. So, it's dependent on if he can handle it. If he can't handle it, then we'll go back the legal route. Well, we don't need much on that side, I don't think, but
No. His driveway's right there too, isn't it? The back driveway? But I thought he got a back driveway.
Last has a back driveway.
Yeah.
But this guy's driveway, I think, is further enough away.
I'm pretty sure it is.
I just don't know how that
Far enough
ownership,
away.
Yeah.
I just don't know how the ownership and title didn't exchange hands in 7 years.
Apparently that's rare. Apparently that's rare, and I think the fact that it's been that long is the problem. If it was something within a certain time period, I think it was easier to vet, but the fact that it's been that long is the problem. Because I don't know if it has to go through a probate court or whatever. That's
yeah.
the limit of my lawyering I'll do. So, one's interesting. Justin's ready to go, so. He had brought something up at the last meeting about this driveway. We went out and looked at it. I guess this new driveway is shedding more runoff across the road. And kinda Adam, we think we can probably kind of scalp down this high point here within the right of way and get it into the ditch line. We'll do that as part of the project, I imagine. So I just think it was part of his overdig for the driveway, probably, that he just kind of side cast, and now it kind of sneaks across versus getting into the swale.
Yeah.
So that's not a big deal, but,
Okay.
so, a little complicated,
I mean,
unfortunately.
is it feasible to do it without the easement to the west? In your mind, I know it's gonna come down to Tim's.
You probably could. The problem is if you don't take some of those trees out as part of this project, they're more than likely gonna die and they're gonna fall over anyways. So the preference would be to get them out. Because right now, part of the problem with that ditch line is there's roots all throughout it.
Yeah.
And we wanna kinda clear those out anyways. They're gonna kill what's ever attached to it, more than likely. And some of those trees as you head north are large. So I would hate for a tree after the work's done to fall on somebody's house. That'd be the ultimate.
Yeah.
And
Bad
dropping
karma.
trees isn't cheap either.
No. I mean, a lot of the stuff in front, like I said, is more brush than trees.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of as you get back, you start hitting some bigger boys.
Okay.
So I'll keep pushing Tim.
Alrighty, we'll keep that on for next month's meeting. Moving on to new business, item A, 2024 project ranking.
So these were finalized this morning. I had printed out a bunch of these to hand out, and then I forgot them on my desk, so I'm reading this off my phone.
I've got one here if you want one more.
I'm good, I got it on my phone.
Oh, okay.
As long as you guys have it. So, my memo that kind of came out with this, week and a half ago or so, summarized a 23 carryover budget of roughly $375,000. That is subtracting out Gibbons, Wilson, and Latz when it goes. We don't have invoicing for any of those three yet, so it's an estimate. So roughly 75 to 80, that should be more than enough, I think, of what we spent on all three of those combined, so it should be pretty conservative. As we've noted in past meetings, the 2024 estimated budget would be $399,000. That will be distributed to the Stormboard Fund in two allocations, one in July and one at the end of the year. So that budget will be increasing throughout the year. I think the first allocation's in July. Good thing about carrying over such a large budget from last year combined with what we'll see this year, almost all of the 10 projects probably can be funded. Obviously minus number 10, which would be the Schubert Dodge corridor, but kind of building a little nest egg of money that makes those projects a lot more feasible moving in the future, which is good. So I'll just go through the final ranking at this point. Number one was the Shades curb and gutter extension. which would be allocated directly to the Shades project as it sits now. It's already been designed, that curb's ready to go once they get into 140th. Number 2 was the Lakeshore Pike collapse, which is that 24-inch CMP just south of Sip Coffee House. My understanding, Tim's gonna kind of work with Public Works and with PGX, which is one of their pre-approved stormwater contractors, to get that done. Number 3 is the Wilson Ditch project, which we brought up, which is just east of the Wilson 128th Wrightwood one. And then 4th was Wood Cedar Creek, Phase 2, which we just discussed. 5th was, well, I guess it was a tie for 4th. It was Monastery Woods, basically 10,026 west 128th. This is a rear drainage problem that Tim brought to my attention a month ago, after last meeting. It's a nuisance, kind of a nuisance drainage issue, similar issues we've had in that same subdivision over the last couple of years. That would install a sanitary lateral off of an existing lateral to hook up 4 downspouts and rear yards. There's a tie for 6. Summer Winds, which would be 10, 132, 136 west 133rd place. It's effectively the first lot coming into the subdivision on the east side. The town capped off an old 6-inch water main basically between the commercial properties and Summer Winds about a year and a half ago. That utility trench has begun to leak, and that appears to be the low spot because it's leaching through that bank, basically south of DeMott. When I say bank, I mean the side slope, but ironically also south of DeMott State Bank. There is a inlet back there already, so I think Tim's plan was to hook up basically a perforated tile and try to get that into there, because right now I guess the rear yards are just wet repeatedly. So that would take care of that problem. Tied for 6th is Woodland Hills, 130th Court cul-de-sac. This one is up kind of in that Schubert Dodge area. It's just north on Dodge, and then there's a cul-de-sac just kind of off the west there. We spoke about this one maybe 2 years ago. It was on the list last year.
One time, yeah.
Yeah.
He just came in once.
So there's an old pipe that feeds to the west at the end of the cul-de-sac that's in an existing easement. So that is 6. Moving on, 8th was what we call a Dewey Street lateral project, which is just east of Bugaboos, in between Dewey. We had a stub installed there in anticipation of this lateral with the South Shore Storm Sewer project, probably 6 years ago now. This would extend that to the back to pick up some low draining areas and also Bugaboo's parking lot. Number 9 is Woodland Shore Storm Sewer, which formerly was known as the Becker parcel. That one, we have one easement, need a second to make that project whole. And then 10, which is the larger project of them all, is Schubert Dodge Street Storm Sewer System. But that one's kind of earmarked for larger projects, so there's no estimate on it yet. So that's how your scoring came in this year. I mean, totaling even the top 9 without the large guy at the end, that total would be roughly $425,000. So it would be eating in your 24 budget by like $50,000, which would bring the overall down to $350 once it's all allocated. Full disclosure too is a lot of these are assuming Public Works is doing them. If they get quoted out to an outside contractor, those estimates will go up. So a lot of these are dependent on Public Works availability. I imagine Woods of Cedar Creek, Woodland Shores, which is the Becker one, those would most likely be subbed out. And then obviously the Shades one, that's already under contract with Milestone. So, but the remaining 7 or so projects on there would be wholly or at least partially Public Works responsibility. So it's gonna be a matter of what their schedule is.
Just a couple quick questions. This is amazing that we've got, you know, the money for once to do the majority of these projects, but I guess when you say carryover, are we taking money from last year and moving it into this year?
It's effectively just in your budget.
So is our budget really more than 400,000? Is it the 400 plus the 290 from 2023, or?
Well, so the 375 is actually in the budget as we speak today, so that would,
Okay,
because stormwater fees they kind of
Okay.
trickle into the budget over the year. So that is in there today. The 399 kind of starts funneling in throughout the year.
gotcha, okay. Then
So-
it would appear then that we've got enough, even at 425, we're darn close. I mean, we
You should.
should not be gun shy about pulling the trigger on
No.
all of these, essentially.
I mean, we can sequence in them. I imagine you want to get Wood to Cedar Creek going.
Yes.
That's a bigger one. That's going to take time just to quote it. Like I said, a lot of the smaller guys, even Wilson Ditch is probably going to be quoted as well. That has some specialty stuff going down called Fleximat.
You brought up Woods of Cedar Creek, and I just have a quick question, just
Yeah.
because this is the second year we've done this scoring, and I like it a lot, but I'm struggling with the fact that we regraded that job. You know, we rescored it this year.
Yeah.
We scored it last year, and it came in, I think, third, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Why would we rescore it again this year? And
That's fine. It's just meant to
Well, I guess-
be, yeah.
yeah, and I guess you see where I'm going, right?
Yeah.
If something on here is scored ninth, and we don't have the funds to do it this year, it should be top of the list next year. It should just be, and then new projects that come in after that one should get graded. Is that, I'm just trying to be fair about it, is all.
No, I understand. I mean, it's a policy call, if you want to take it that way. I can see it both ways. I think it should be dependent on also what comes in.
True, there's dire need for certain things, yeah. And
Yeah, I mean,
can
there's certain things that pop up we didn't even know about,
Yeah,
the year
true.
before.
Yeah.
So that
True.
could be critical or not critical. But no, I totally agree. That's kind of why I said, you know, Woods and Cedar Creek from a rollover from last year.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Could we start bidding that right now? Is
Yeah.
everything designed to a point where we can put it on the street?
Probably. I would like to get that easement first done
Okay.
with Lapham. And then once we get that, we'll be ready to go. I mean, it should be an easy quote. It's just gonna probably take 30 to 45 days to get that together, out,
Do you
get
need
quotes
anything
back.
formal from this board to put it on the street, or no?
Just some direction. I mean, do you wanna take these, I mean, we're not gonna be able to do these all at once.
You're right.
So I don't know if the scoring has something to do with how you want to kind of leak them out. And like I said, a lot of them are kind of dependent on Public Works workload.
I guess the only thing I'm thinking of is if Woods of Cedar Creek we're still waiting on another easement, it could be a month, I don't know.
I mean, once we get that thing through legal, it should be pretty quick. I understand Mr. Lapham's itching to sign them,
But
so,
you still, then you put it on the street, so we're about probably 2 months out, right?
potentially, yeah.
So you're in July anyway, so you get your first installment in July.
Which is a good time to do stormwater projects,
Right.
be the driest period,
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
I guess I'm just saying, I don't see any harm in putting it out on the street for bid.
Okay.
I mean, Ryan, do you agree, or?
Oh, I agree. I think the only thing I would add on top to your comments there is, it's all about timeline, and then it's all dependent on the actual, time Public Works has to allocate to different projects.
Yep.
And so if we were able to, based upon the ranks, put a timeline together, and kind of schedule that out. Obviously, the Woods of Cedar Creek is not gonna be done by the Public Works Department, so, I don't know if we wanna call it accelerating it, but I think that it's good to get it out.
I mean, we can take the ones that we know Public Works aren't gonna do. We know Shades is already out, that's already with a contractor. Wilson Ditch will, like I said, most likely be a smaller project that will be quoted out, because we're gonna put in some like concrete mats in there.
Yeah,
And it's kind of specialty type work. It's not expensive, but
yeah.
it's more specialty contractor types work. Woodland Shores, that's the one we're gonna have to approach the east homeowner on to get that easement. So that one may take a little time, and that one most likely would be quoted, because that's in a really tight corridor. I think we have a 10-foot working space on that one.
Yeah.
So I don't think you guys wanna get involved on that one.
Mm.
But like, we can at least engage, you know, Tim and say, you know,
Lake Shore Drive.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5
Yeah.
are your responsibility. If you guys have I know he was itching to get Lakeshore Drive one done,
Yeah.
because that's an open collapse.
Yeah, that one's danger,
And you wanna get it done before the season starts.
especially 4th of July.
Right?
Yeah, so he's already kind of preliminarily talked to
Yeah.
PTX, to get that one going.
Okay, so
He already has pipe quotes on it. He's already done a lot of legwork on that one, just because it's right there.
I mean, some of these will only take
Yeah,
maybe a half a week, couple days, just depends upon,
Yeah.
weather.
a lot of them are similar. Summer Winds, Monastery, and Dewey are all just installation of 12-inch laterals.
Yeah.
Pretty easy. Like Dewey, we need an easement on that one to make that one go. Monastery, those are all easements through there, we don't need that. Summer Winds, we don't need any easements, those are pretty quick. So they're kinda gonna lag just because of, certain things we need from
Yeah,
things and not others.
The only thing I see, weather, and then if we can get the stuff fast enough.
Yeah. So, we can, like I said, I can touch base with Tim, see how his
Yeah.
staff is. I mean, he got to, once we got him going with Gibbons and Wilson
Yeah,
and
once
all
you
that, he
get 'em
got it pretty quick, so.
Focused on it, then
Yeah.
it's immediately, let's do
It goes.
this, so.
Okay.
I mean, is there something that we should do? I mean, I'm just talking out loud here. So, accelerate Woods of Cedar Creek, and then get going on the Lakeshore Drive pipe collapse right off the gate
And Shades,
in Shades.
Shades was ranked number 1, but that's 20 grand that the contractor's gonna do, right?
Yeah, that's
not-
already,
That's not Public Works, so.
it's already been designed. I think you guys read my little snippet about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it makes sense to do that one. Unfortunately, came after the CCMG funding, so it's not 50/50, but, it needs to be done. So that's already part of an addendum we put together. Once it's okay, we'll do a change order and add it.
Yeah.
And then it's most likely will be a little less than 20, but, so,
Yeah, 'cause there's some other issues over there anyway, around the corner.
yeah,
Behind Mish's office, so,
yep,
well, that'll all take care of that with the curb.
yep.
Yeah, just real quick, just a suggestion, and I don't know, Wendy, if you can, I guess going forward, if this is the list so far to start 24, why don't we put, what we think is Public Works jobs here on our agenda?
Mm-hmm.
And then if possible, we could put the rank in brackets or something, just to give us a little bit of a, a guidepost as to where it fell on the list. Does that seem fair?
Yeah.
I know it'll make the agenda a little longer, but, I don't know.
Well, that way you know too.
Yeah,
I mean, I would say your Public Works, or primarily Public Works, would be the Lakeshore Drive, it's combo. Dewey Street, Monastery Woods, and Summer Winds, and then Woodland Hills, potentially. That one might have a little bit of a tree issue.
So, as it relates to going down the list, so starting back up on Schubert and Dodge Street, that was our 10th ranked. And at the end of the day, I think that's gonna be an expensive project.
It is, and not to complicate things, but as we do some of the projects like Shades, there are stormwater components of those things, but there's also roadway and stuff like that. So historically, the town has drawn from different pots of money, either from general fund or stormwater funds, depending on what percentage of that project is, roadway or storm. So I think that's why you're seeing a lot more stuff here, just to add to the level of transparency about what money's being earmarked for what. So that remaining budget for 24, if the town so chooses to go for like Shades Phase 2, which is the central portion of 141st, there's a huge stormwater component to that, but that would most likely draw from that fund. But that's kind of the unknown about what we start doing with the roadway projects in the next calendar year. So I guess you would be tied into that discussion once council kind of determines a direction about where they want to go with that. Because like I said, in past meetings, we've had those subdivision master plans, which, have huge stormwater components as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And some of those expenditures would likely pull from this fund as well. So it definitely helps that it's becoming a little more frothy, as we move forward, frothier.
Okay.
But that's just something to think about, I guess, moving forward.
And I'm fine with that, it's just that, whatever money is going to X, Y, and Z, we don't want to put Band-Aids on bullet holes. We want to make
Yeah.
sure that the project is good and that it's sustainable for perpetuity outside of whatever, outside of different conditions. But we want to make sure that the money is well spent and that the job is done, and that at the end of the day, homeowners, property owners, they're happy with what has been done. So
For sure.
with that being said, and then with the Woodland Shores, I mean, that is something, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I think, you know, you have partial here. I can't remember the exact dollar amount that we.
So there was kind of a two-pronged attack.
Yeah.
So if you remember, that system kind of originated up on 136, kind of split the block, and then made its way out to the lake. So there were two discussions with that one. A partial improvement, which would essentially be from 136 to the rear yard, that would get rid of a bunch of drain tiles that are clogged and run under houses and stuff like that, gets to a larger system. If you wanted to replace the entire system to the lake, then it's quite a bit more pricey project. I think it was around $300,000. So I put the smaller one in there. Do you have money to do the entire thing? Yes. But then you gotta balance probably cost benefit of, you know, is the entire thing necessary? Because the crux of the problem was at the upstream part of it. But that entire system's kind of back-pitched and not great. It's not an old system. It's not like it's in bad shape, it was just installed poorly. So I put the partial on there, but there is the larger one, which is around $300K. That's where it's difficult to know, do you want to put that money to somewhere else, or seeing as you have no other active projects, I mean, I don't know, that's kind of your guys' call.
I mean, it's kind of on the back burner right now just because of how rankings were done.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we can approach it when we get to the point of where we're sitting at projects completed and money in the account, but ultimately it's gonna come down to the approval of the board.
Is that project kind of designed, Don?
It is.
It is?
Yeah.
So you could put it on the street as well if you had to?
Could.
Okay. The partial?
Partial.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, like I said, that one, you'd still need the eastern property owner,
Yeah.
his easement.
Okay.
Okay, so to summarize what we have just discussed, start Woods of Cedar Creek, get that going, and I know Mr. Lapham is texting Mr. Tiemens right now about what he should be doing. So, that I have confidence that will be getting ready to go.
Yeah.
Same thing with the shade subdivision, since those are gonna be subbed out to contractors. I think if we can prioritize the Lakeshore Drive pipe collapse, and then the next meeting we'll put together some timelines and discussion about it, and just run it past Public Works, so we're not overcommitting, but working around their schedule, just because we don't know what tomorrow's gonna bring.
Yeah.
How's
like,
that sound?
like most public works, it's gonna be when they have time.
Yeah.
Right.
But I do agree with Don. Tim is adamant about the Lakeshore one, so I know he did talk to PGX last week about it, and we were gonna do a combined effort to get it done. And since it's on the curve on Lakeshore Drive, we're gonna try to get it done as quick as we can.
Yeah.
Well, it's ranked number 2,
Right.
Yeah.
and there's money in the bank.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I think if you put ranking number 3, Wilson Ditch on, once you get the Lakeshore Drive pipe collapse project complete, start moving on over there. And
Are we
then,
gonna clean that out, or are you gonna have,
Well, that required one easement as well. So a lot of these kind of require like one easement. So I would advise that we at least start cracking on the owners for some of those
Okay.
easements. That one's already together. It just was never signed. That's why it fell off the list a couple of years
that's
ago.
her son that owns
That's
that,
her son.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he would be okay with that.
That's what when she was out seeing you guys do, and
Yeah.
I think TJ talked to her, and she said, of course.
Yeah, I think
Just
she
write it up
mentioned it to
again.
me too,
Yeah.
and I said that'd be fine, I'd have to talk to you about it, but yeah.
Yeah, so we can just update that one. We'll need a new one for Dewey Street, and then Woodland Shores would be one. So it would really only be, and then, yeah, Dewey and Woodland Shores would be the only new one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything else is in easements.
Yeah, I'd just say hold off on Woodland Shores until
Okay.
we know more.
But I should proceed with the Dewey easement at least.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's a former Stillborn member, so I hope he, Tom Frick, that's his house.
That's funny.
So,
Oh, it is? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, well, yeah.
so hopefully he's amendable to it, but I'll reach out to him.
Okay.
Tim may have already reached out to him, but
Okay.
Good stuff.
And I apologize, Monastery Woods, is there easements needed there?
no. Those will have rear yard easements, it's all accessible off the main drag through the middle, so that one should be pretty easy. Huh?
There's no utilities?
I didn't say that.
Like,
That subdivision's kind of notorious for utilities in the rear, so,
yeah,
I'm sure there is.
I'm sure there is. but-
Yeah, that's when they put everything in the rear, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
We're gonna keep it busy.
Well, no, that's good.
You're not going on vacation anytime soon, right?
Not until August, so I should be
Okay.
fine.
These will all be done by then. You're good.
and then I think Jen wanted an official approval for the Shades one, which would be your new business item B.
Okay.
We ready for that right now?
But it's right after you're done with this.
Anything else?
If you guys are done with sports.
I just want to make sure, Wendy, if you have any questions or notes that we need to discuss, either publicly or, I know we talked a lot, and a lot of
With
things were
the-
going
with
back and
the-
forth.
Rating?
With the rankings and just like
Yep.
starting of projects.
What goes where on the agenda and stuff, right?
I'll
Yes.
just arrange it according to the ranking, or note where it was ranked,
Okay,
just move stuff around. Take off the things that are complete, and then
assume all of them are public works with the exception of Woods of Cedar Creek, Woodland Shores,
Shades.
and Shades.
Potentially Wilson Ditch.
Yeah.
And then we will talk to Kubiak and
Yeah, we'll
find
try
out
and
exactly
nail
which
him
ones
down
that he
on-
wants done in
yeah.
order.
I think
Got
he
a lot
probably has his
going
own
on right
priority,
now,
so,
Yeah, yeah, he does.
so, I mean, I'll reach out to him, I'm sure he will
The
too.
three of us will do a meeting.
Schedule a meeting.
Yeah. Just lock him in the back or something.
We'll have to hop in his truck
No
before
problem.
he gets out in the morning, and then that's the only way we can talk to him, so.
Okay.
okay, thank you. So moving on to new business item B, approve $20,000 to the curb storm water from 140th Avenue into Morse Street.
At Shades.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the $20,000 for, the Shades project, curb and gutter.
Okay, I'll second that.
Ryan Lucick,
Yes.
Patrick Conlon.
Yes.
Okay, that brings us up to public comment. And just a reminder for everyone, when you do approach the podium, please state your name and address. Thank you. Just another reminder, we do have a 3-minute time allotment for public comments.
Angie Michaelajczyk, 12806 Lee Court. Thank you for that. I wanted, first of all, I had passed out a series of photos. This is to clarify some information from the last stormwater hearing that we had here. The first photo that I had sent was, there is a drain in the front of my house, a yard drain, and it drops off from the sidewalk. The last time that I was here, I said that it was about a 4-foot drop-off. So last year, I didn't know really how to handle the situation, so I did like a decorative bed around the drain to make it more obvious for passerbys that there was a drop-off there. And I did call Public Works at that time. Eric had come out to my property. Again, this was said last hearing, and he had said as long as I didn't cover the drain, that they could access it, that it was fine. And he actually said that I did a beautiful job. I just felt very good after our visit. However, last meeting, Mr. Kubiak had brought up the fact that he believed that the cause of my yard drain issues were due to the landscaping that I did around the yard drain. Instead of arguing with him about it, quite honestly, I got emotional, and even though I had just had surgery, I went and I moved all the rocks, so there was no issue there. Then, that week, he had said that he had come to my house, which he did in the morning, and I had a conversation with Mr. Kubiak. He had said that he couldn't give me the authority to remove the 2 pieces of concrete that had dropped off into the yard drain. And the last meeting, it was said that if anybody had fallen off from the sidewalk into the yard drain, that I would be liable. So it's to my understanding, the ordinance say that there's supposed to be a sidewalk from the edge of my driveway to the edge of my property. Based upon the construction of my property, there's no way possible for that to happen. So essentially, I have 2 pieces of concrete leading into nowhere except the drain. So Public Works was generous enough to say that they would remove those. However, they were told that they could not. I was going to talk to Plan Commission about this tomorrow to see the advice that they could give if we can get the approval to move those 2 slabs of concrete. So when Mr. Kubiak came out, he had insinuated that possibly because I had a tree there, that maybe the tree roots were into the drain, and Public Works had come out to clean all the drains in the subdivision. I had went out there, and there was a lot of poison ivy roots into that drain. They had said that possibly it was never cleaned. My property is supposed to have 3 drains according to the preliminary drawings for the subdivision, which 2 in the back, 2 in the rear, and then the 1 in the front. This drain particularly leads nowhere except for the next drain over maybe about 30 feet into the street. So I just wanted to clarify because with the images I had given to you, if that's the information that I'm provided, that there's supposed to be a sidewalk on each side of the driveway, my neighbors directly across the street, which has way more land, does not have a sidewalk on their side of their driveway. And I also wanted to say that I do not appreciate anyone to tear down the elm trees, because they are American elm trees. I had arborists come out and evaluate the trees. I am a member of the Indiana Native Plant Society. I've got those trees fertilized, deep root fertilized. They're beautiful American elms, which most of the American elms are affected by Dutch elm disease. So that was the first part of what I wanted to talk about. So I don't know if you can give me a favorable decision on the sidewalk.
Okay, so you're going to talk about 2 things. You're going to talk about the property, this side, and then you're going to talk about the back of your property.
Well, no, I wanted to, this is the clarification from last meeting.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to show you the images, because I tried to just, say the best that I can. And then the other thing, number 2, is what's the situation with, I don't know, are we back to square one here, or I don't understand what Mr. Oliphant was saying regarding your property.
On the back end of the back of your property, the west side of your property? Or am I misspeaking?
The rear.
The rear. Now that was just the front.
Yeah, so
I wanted to
you're talking about 2 different things here, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, let's start with the front.
Yeah. Start with the front. As it relates to this, you have water that's pooling. Identify what's the issue. Is it a sidewalk issue or is it a drainage issue?
Oh, for the front, it's sidewalk.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing's pooling in the front.
So the builder
Everything-
the builder put that sidewalk in?
Yes, sir.
So when you build a house
Yes, sir.
But essentially, it's, you own it, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And so
That's why I think the town's hesitant, and I don't wanna speak for
Yes.
anybody else.
Well, I think that's also part of the building ordinance,
Right.
is that, if it's a newer platted subdivision, they are served by sidewalks. And sidewalks need to go from, property line to property line. And that's why, I don't know why they stopped at the drainage, but, street department also was out, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and raised that drain,
Yes, sir.
8 inches or so, I
Yes,
think
sir.
I was told.
I have the photos.
A ring was added to that.
Yeah, the photos include the repair or whatever. It's still about 3 feet, but it was 4 feet, now it's about 3 feet of a drop.
is this old or new?
That was what I had done when I had talked to Eric. That was last year. I ripped that all out.
Yeah, why'd you say you didn't know anything about landscaping?
Thank you, sir.
I
I
know,
appreciate
right?
that. I really appreciate that. I have 14 different garden beds in my yard,
Oh, my goodness.
so
I didn't even wanna walk around that, 'cause it was so nice and.
But the reason why,
so
I'm not an expert, I'm not speaking on behalf of the town, but the reason why it's leaning towards the drain is because that's where the water is going, so it's seeking, right?
yes. Mhm.
Well, and you have a vacant parcel to the north, correct?
Yes, sir.
So there's
There's nothing.
there's no connecting sidewalk on that
No,
parcel?
sir.
No. So you're essentially the end of the sidewalk? if
Yes,
you were to
sir.
walk
I'm
your
the first
cul-de-sac.
lot in the, if you could pull it up, I'm the first lot in a subdivision on cul-de-sac. So I wanted to make it look nice when people entered our,
Yeah.
Like, see her, and it starts to curve, and then it like goes into like a 1.5 lane road. And then
there's no way I can keep this under 3 minutes.
Oh, I know.
I would say remove the sidewalk.
I mean, we're missing 12 feet of sidewalk
Yeah,
to her property corner.
but the
Because
storm
that
drain is
property to the
right
north
there.
isn't part of the subdivision.
Well,
But her storm drain is literally right where the sidewalk should be.
I'm just wanting, Mr. Kubiak did mention, well, if we broke it up, we don't have anything to do with the sidewalk, with the pieces of concrete, and I said, I'll repurpose them, I could use them. So, then I asked him if he would give me a little bit of time, because I had just had surgery, and before I knew it, about, I don't know, a week later, they were out in the drain. So, thank God I moved the rocks, because it would have all been destroyed.
So,
I mean,
So-
that's not this
I don't know the
board's
board.
purpose for the sidewalk situation,
Okay,
right?
that's fine, not a problem. So we can talk about something else. I was gonna talk about the plan commission, in front of the plan commission. I originally made these photos because I thought I had to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals, you know, because it's part of, and they said, and actually it was the town attorney that said, no, bring it in front of the plan commission. However, it was discussed in this board as well, because they were saying that the stormwater issue is because of the landscape that I had done. So I just wanted to clarify that issue. So we could talk about something else. I'm gonna talk to Plan Commission about that tomorrow.
Oh, what was the stormwater issue?
The stormwater issue is the back.
Okay.
Okay, there's
Yeah,
the western property, I guess the highest elevation according to the GIS is like 721 feet. The lowest point of elevation is about 709, and that's the front yard. So, there was never, there's no swale behind the house. So and then my neighbor to the, other side, I don't know, it would be the south side, is also on a hill about 719. So I have water coming from my neighbor's property to the south, and then I have water coming from the west property in my backyard. So that's why we had originally been here, is because Mr. Oliphant said Plan A is if they develop the property in the west, or Plan B to put a drainage pipe in my backyard. But he had mentioned when it comes to my name that it was a tight fit or something because of my stairs on my deck. But now I'm starting to question if a pipe in the ground is even going to be sufficient enough for the amount of water that I get in the backyard.
Well, here's the rub. So your deck is right up to the easement. Typically, we would install a pipe in the center of the easement. If the pipe's not going to pick it up, we'll install a swale, which now you're going to walk out and it's going to be,
Yeah.
so.
Well, I was wondering,
That was why Plan A was to wait for development on the western parcel, because the dip would be at your property line versus
Well-
in between your property line and your steps.
yes, sir.
So
I
that was the
understand.
intent of waiting. If you don't want to wait, that's the
I didn't
alternative.
have a problem with waiting.
Okay.
But I don't know at this point if he's
I don't know
going to
if
come
he's ever
back.
going to develop. so-
Yeah, so then, based on what you had talked about previously, could Mr. Kubiak focus on contacting the property owner for an easement on the west of my property? So he can do it, since he's given me the water. Can it not be done on his 1.33 acre? Because I can tell you, the property across the street from me, the town Public Works did put in a sort of detention pond, or retention pond, I'm sorry, behind their house.
That was done as part of the subject back here?
Yeah.
No, it was done because I talked to my neighbor after he had purchased the home. And I do want to say, Mr. Bungie did mention that it was a newer subdivision. And I cannot stress this point enough. Everyone has to understand, my legal paperwork says to the county, the Cedar Lake, the Cedar Township, that my house was built in 2010.
But it was platted in 2007, I think.
It was started apparently.
I think it was started this lot's had issues about it sitting vacant for a long time, bank owned, that whole thing. So there's some history to this lot, for sure.
I know, I'm just trying to fix it. I'm just trying to fix what wasn't done, because we paid $325,000 for our house 3 years ago, and I've been going on my second year of coming in front of these boards to try to see what can be done. Even if I have to, quite honestly, even if we have to flip the bill for it, it's not about payment, it's what do I do?
I would say it would be abnormal to approach another homeowner to put a swale on their property. Typically, it's the main swale would be on your property, I guess. We can approach, that's up to this board about a policy direction. We can do whatever they direct.
Well, I'm like you, I don't have any direction either. I'm coming to you for direction because I don't know how to resolve this issue. I mean, we had a pretty large investment. It's the first time we owned a home. And, I did what I could do as far as landscaping. You saw that I did, if you want to zoom in on the new photo like you did earlier, you could see, I hand dug that quote-unquote decorative pond just to keep the water away from our home. And as far as the deck, that was where a lot of the water was going, so we put the deck there and then fixed the dirt so it would stay away from our foundation of our home.
That's up to you guys. Whatever direction you guys give to members.
So that's all I had to say, really, but I would like some answers on what we do to move forward.
I would like to go off the property, but I have no problem approaching the
West property
owner.
I don't know.
Because they were supposed to build, and then it got tabled, and they're not building anymore, right?
It didn't get tabled.
Nothing's come before Plan Commission.
Yeah.
He withdrew his application.
Withdrew it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's been 6 months.
I would say 6 months. Yeah, it's part of being a good neighbor. So I don't have any issues exploring that route.
Yeah. Well, I did tell Mr. Oliphant, and I mean, as far as the surface water, what I did with digging that out in the corner, it has helped. And also with the deck structure and kind of grading that has helped. So, I'm patient as far as waiting, but like you had mentioned earlier, I want it done right. I don't want to be coming back in two years and saying, oh my God, I'm still getting water. Right. So what is the right way to do it? And the thing is, I can't, because my water well's there, I can't get any heavy equipment back there, and I can't get permission from the adjacent property owners to go on their property to do anything, so I'm stuck. I'm in a catch-22 really bad, and I don't know what to do.
It's up to you guys.
I said we reach out.
I'm fine with that.
I'll get together with Jeff.
Do we need to pass a motion or something?
I don't think so, not for that.
I would like to come out to your property
I would appreciate it.
when it's light out,
Okay.
but just to look in the backyard, just see what's going on.
Okay.
And who knows, we may reach out to that property owner and they have plans in the works to come back to BZA or Planning Commission or whatever.
Yeah. And the people that understand the most are the people that have walked the property, like Mr. Oliphant and Eric and Mr. Bungie and Mr. Kubiak and some town council members. They have seen the property. But it's really hard to look at this GIS and to look at the computer and to look at the records for the county because it shows it's a flat land. It's not. So y'all are welcome to come to my property at any time.
Okay.
So
yeah, we'll...
So if you want to, if I could be on the back burner? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean.
You're not leaving the agenda.
Okay, all right, as long as we're not leaving the agenda. Okay,
Okay.
all right. I mean,
And
should I just
so-
walk away from the podium? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Brian Taman, 6814 West 142nd Place, Cedar Lake, Indiana. I'm in with the Cedar Creek. Thank you for finally working on our project. We really appreciate it. Secondly, you have 2 easements for Mr. Lapham to sign.
Well-
Are they already prepared?
One is prepared, one is in the process of being prepared.
So
So I will reach out to Mr. Lapham once it's prepared.
should he wait to come?
I mean, unless you want to come in twice, that's up to him.
Okay.
I would say wait.
You want him to wait.
Yeah, that will slow us down though,
And
so.
when he does, you do have them all prepared, where does he go to sign them? Does he go to
Here.
Public Works, or does he go to
Here.
Town Council? Where
Here.
does he see?
Building department. There'll be a notary there that he can sign and they'll notarize it, and then they'll take it from there.
So, okay, so when should he appear, when should you be talking to him when it gets done?
I would say probably it's gonna take a couple weeks to get that thing through legal,
Okay,
and then when it's done, I'll give him a call myself.
okay.
All right?
Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Mary Jo Dixon, 8711 West 132nd Place. I'm just sad to see that my project is removed from a list of some sort.
It's not.
Marquette in
It's
132nd Place. I've not been here for a while because I got tired of coming after like 12 years. So I just want to make sure it's on a list somewhere, huh?
It is on the
Promise me?
subdivision plan. It's kind of part of the Schubert Dodge corridor. So if you look at our
It's a road.
subdivision plan, huh?
Wait a minute, it's across
It's on the
Lakeshore
side of the
Drive.
list.
So that subdivision combined with, I think, the 2 roads that didn't get done as part of the Meyer Manor project are all kind of together.
Marquette 132nd
Yeah.
project, yes. Okay.
So that tied with the Deodor Schubert neighborhood, they're all
Okay.
together.
All right, I appreciate that information.
So,
I will periodically stop by and just say hi. Just, if you ever want to come to my house, you have to come during the rain. And you'll see a river on both sides of my house, and a $40,000 basement I had to put on because
Yeah.
my water was going in my house. So,
Yeah.
anytime, come by. We have a garage, storage refreshments.
Oh, nice.
Gail Brannon, 7014 West 139th Place. I have some questions about the shades and the drainage. I was wondering if you could bring up the shades on your screen there. You could just point with your pointer to the roads that will be draining water into the Founder's Creek. Which roads are those?
let's see here. That would be effectively Edison, part of Edison, the north half of Edison, the north half of Rockland, and then the very north part of Sherman. Everything else, the south part of Sherman, south part of Rockland, south part of Edison, they all go down to 141st to Cedar Creek. 140th goes west and then down Moore Street into Cedar Creek. So it's kind of half of Edison, half of Rockland, and the very north part of Sherman.
Okay, if you can point to 139th Place, my road is, I'm the,
This guy.
yes,
Yep,
I'm right there. That's my house.
yep.
And I understand that those roads are being diverted to Flounders Creek, which comes across the road,
There's a culvert right here.
and it comes across the road, onto my property, going north, along the north line, and then it makes a 90-degree turn and goes west to Founders Creek. And I was wondering if there's been any calculations done of how much flow of water to anticipate, because right now that, as far as I know, that water is you know, maybe somewhat coming across my property, but if it's going to increase
So
dramatically,
we have maintained all of the existing what we call roadway profiles. So the volume coming into it will be identical. So there's crests there's kind of high points in Edison, somewhere around this vicinity. That's not exact by any means, but this all sheds to the north now,
okay?
and then everything south of that line sheds south. These roadway profiles essentially kind of like that, they're staying the same.
Okay, so I'm already getting,
You're already getting that in some
Water.
form or fashion, so we are collecting it into a storm sewer. Sherman actually is just gonna continue to drain sheet-wise, because that high point's actually further north, and everything else south of that line will go south away from you.
okay.
Same with Rockland, same with Edison, same
Well-
with Mary's Lane.
I am concerned that the water is going to, right now, it all drains across my property, from south to north. The ditch is on my property,
Yep.
not on, anybody else's property. And it makes a 90-degree turn, like 20 feet off from my house, and carries on to Founder's Creek. And I'm just concerned that, I will be experiencing a larger volume of water than anticipated, and the creek is not, the ditch behind my house is not very deep, so.
The volume should be exactly the same. If you want, I can have our construction inspector meet you out there and talk it through.
Okay,
Show you the plans, get you a better idea of what's going on.
that'd be a good idea, and then you could see my
Okay.
property and see if there
Okay.
would be some kind of effect.
If you wanna catch me after the meeting, give me your number, I'll put you in
Very good.
contact with them.
Very good, thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Thank you.
Good evening, good evening, gentlemen. Terry Broaders, 14513 Morris. Couple of things that came to mind tonight as I'm listening to the conversation on all the different things that were rated for projects for the future, and I think, first off, great that we actually have this in place. I've been here for a while now and saw this kind of taking place in its infancy, and I'm just very happy to see that where we're going. To have things on the list and rating them, big steps, right? One of the things that concerns me though, is when I heard that list being read off and listening to some of the names of the subdivisions and how many easements need to be bought and how much work needs to be done. What concerns me is some of these subdivisions are fairly new, some of these names are not that old. Now, it almost seems that if the taxpayers have to buy easements and bring equipment in to dig up ditches and drain standing water in subdivisions that are fairly new, we're actually cleaning up the mess left behind by poor development, poor developers, poor review. It just seems like there's a lot out there that we're coming back to fix, and we're not holding the right people accountable. It's coming out of taxpayers' pocket. Stormwater has a lot of problems. I mean, we have a lot of hills there, a lot of creeks, a lot of ditches, a lot of natural runoff. And I hate seeing stormwater funds being used to buy easements in subdivisions that are this new. I think we should be holding developers accountable. I think we should be taking our time and review. I don't know whose responsibility it is. I know when the engineer drawings come in, they come in with a certification that they have to stand by. So I mean, you know, if we find it's not gonna work, then how does it happen, right? We got a pretty big list where it sounded like almost half of those names were fairly new subdivisions. Now, I could be wrong. I haven't been here that long. I don't know every one of them. I know some of the names were older subdivisions and maybe not even subdivisions, just homes built one at a time. But gotta remember who's responsible and who should have to pay for these things, right? 10 years down the road, when the taxpayers are paying for it, it's not coming out of the pockets of the people who made all the profits in the first place. And again, it comes down to review. It comes down to making sure we cross our T's, dot our I's. We don't get caught up where taxpayers have to fix the problems come in the back end. Thank you.
So, Brad Bell, the address doesn't have an address, it's just called Outlot 9A. It's the northwest corner of the Havenwood subdivision. The question we are running into is that after going on 20 years now, we just started receiving invoices for drainage. And the interesting thing about this property is that it's already deeded. I mean, I don't know if you have, I did print this stuff out. I can give you guys, we have a section from the plat of the survey. You don't see the plat online. I think that's probably used on the phone, correct?
Yep.
This, I'm sorry, can you read that note?
Yeah, I've read it.
Right. I was just trying to sit there and say that outlot 9A, for this is, shall be designated as a drainage and wetland easement. It is an integral part of the Cedar Lake stormwater system. In fact, if you look at your stormwater map, you'll see that there are 3 outflows that can go directly onto this land. It's the lowest in the area. And the issue was that, well, by definition, it's basically considered a privately held, what is it? A private stormwater facility. It's a retention pond. It's, it's parts of, it has storm sewer goes into it. It's part of the stormwater system. And it's not a user of the stormwater system. It is a part of it.
It's a receiver.
It's a receiver, correct. And so the problem was that we should be exempt from the bill. The bill just started showing up, and we had an interesting issue with how they were putting it the wrong address, the wrong owner. We got that figured out. Then I talked to Don because he said the buildings department couldn't do it, the utilities department didn't do it. He agreed it was part of the system. He said the bill should be like $4, but then I got a new bill that says $5, and I'm like, well, we're a part of the system. We should be exempt. And there was actually a case law that just was recently done. It's called Mint Management versus City of Richmond that actually addresses this very issue. In essence, they detail that if you are anyone who uses any sewer infrastructure is a user. Well, this lot has no user infrastructure. So they said, well, it's not a town issue, it's not a buildings issue, we're not getting a code variance, we're not changing anything, we're just going by the definitions that are in the system and what's with the state law and county and everything else. So they suggested, well, the easiest thing to do was ask you guys to just deem it an exempt property, because it is a part of your system. I mean, we also have, that's what we were trying to figure out. I know that if we end up getting the outlot through a very convoluted way, it's a very unique situation as how we end up owning an outlot that should be owned by an HOA, and it never was transferred.
Right.
And it should be tax exempt, but it can't be because of, it's not owned by an HOA. But the HOA couldn't get it without having 100% of the owners approve it.
Well, it just went to tax sale.
Well, they're not allowed to buy any property without a 100% approval of all the.
Okay, but it still went to tax sale.
Yes,
You
but
purchased
they
it.
weren't allowed to buy it at the tax sale themselves.
So, Brad, you and I have talked about this at length.
Yes.
We spoke about 90 minutes about this. I told you what my definition of it is. It is not a retention facility.
Well,
It is not exempt. It does not meet the requirements of exemption.
Well, my question is, I'd like to sit down and talk to someone about the actual definitions, because I noticed, interestingly enough, there was a company here from Wessler Engineering, and I just have an article from them as to what exactly, they talk about the difference of what a retention pond is, the definition of a retention pond here, the issue from the Indiana State for what wetlands definitions are, and even your own stormwater system shows it's 100% outflow into this property. So by every definition, which you even said, it is an integral part of the Cedar Lake
Yes,
stormwater.
retention means it does not have an outflow. It does have an outflow.
Actually, it says right here, or an emergency bypass.
The emergency bypass is the meaning there's no outflow. So when emergency bypass means something that fills up and it spills out emergency-wise. If there is a culvert, which there is a culvert that outlets this system, it does not qualify as retention.
Well, what's interesting is.
Did you go out there and look for that pipe? That was the end of our discussion.
We tried to. With the weather, we haven't been able to find that yet.
Okay, you said you weren't gonna bring it back up until you looked for
Well,
it.
I was told because the meeting was coming here, I tried to do it with the weather, and we couldn't get out there.
And I think the reason that it's still at $5 is that you need to submit a formal application to the building department to get the DDC, the direct discharge credit. That's what I was told today.
They didn't tell me that. They just said, they suggested that I come to the stormwater board, because the easiest way to resolve it would be have a definition of an exempt property, just like they have in all the other counties and towns around the area. It's just not listed.
And so, you don't live in Havenwood?
The property owner is not an owner in Havenwood.
Oh, okay.
It's owned by a completely different corporation entity called Lockridge Nature Trust.
Okay.
It has its own
And you're
FDIC
from
number, its own
Whistler?
tax returns and everything else.
Are you from Whistler?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
It was just by coincidence, when we pulled into the parking lot, we saw a Westler vehicle
Okay.
right there.
They were for the J-Mod meeting.
Yeah, I didn't know the person at all, it was just an article that we found from Westler about how they work on it. It's a riser off at a higher point, retains permanent pool of water, looks like a regular pond, but it has a role in controlling stormwater runoff.
So he could fill out an application, you said, a D?
So the direct discharge credit is applicable to this property because, typically a residential lot is $10. If it's vacant, it goes down to $5.
Mm-hmm.
If you are eligible for one of the two credits, one is the DDC, which is direct discharge credit, which effectively says that if your property discharges directly to a legal drain, which is a regulated drain through Lake County, or any of the other drains noted in the ordinance, or if it discharges directly to the corporate limit, which this does. So that is a 30% reduction, which gets you down to 4. The other credit is a quantity reduction credit, which is a controlled release, effectively. It means that the pond or whatever water body is designed to the current stormwater ordinance of the town, which is primarily detention basins. As part of that, you need a operations and maintenance manual, you need calculations that show that it was constructed correctly as built to be eligible for that. Those two combined at 80%. The maximum reduction allowed by the ordinance is 80%. I have not heard of a total exemption since the infancy of this thing back in 2007.
I can show the sections around the area that have the exemption, but the
But
biggest
that's-
issue,
it's-
it's not really a residential lot. Residential lot is defined as something that can have a.
It is a
structure.
residentially zoned lot. It is
So I'm just going
categorized
by-
as that.
let's go
That's
by
the way it is.
definitions of what they have here, and that's what I'm trying to go by, the definitions that are listed in the Cedar Lake ordinances.
So you represent this trust?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's some things that have gone behind closed doors. I really am not up to date.
Because we can't even see an input, or what they call it, the one, what is it, on your map, I forget what it's called, you have the storm outflow, and you have a stormwater inflow. But we can't find any stormwater inflows anywhere near this outlot at all that would be getting anything that would collect the water. And the-
Inflows? Inflows are the pipes coming from Havenwood and the culvert
Yes.
through the railroad.
Well, there is no culvert shown on the map that's by the railroad track at all, on any of the maps that we found. That's why we're trying to get out there, but with the weather and travel, we weren't able to get out there prior to today.
I mean, like I told you on the phone, I'm 99% sure there's a culvert that outlets this facility because this facility is also connected to the lakes on the west side of the railroad. If there was no outfall to this facility, it would continue ponding and being people's backyards.
Well, I understand we saw things from the satellite picture dated from the 1970s.
It was not the 1970s.
Well, that was one image we saw, you pointed out.
There were 8 of them, and they were from 1978 to 2018. So
Well, I'm
let's
saying
slow
it's
down a
not
little bit.
constructed during this, it was a natural pond. that was-
I mean, I will send one of my guys out there and I will find it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then that puts
I mean,
this to rest.
But again, the question still comes down to our definition of what a private stormwater facility element happens to be pursuant to the Cedar Lake's rules.
Private facilities still need to be maintained and be designed in accordance with stormwater ordinance guidelines.
But a user is someone that's using the stormwater system. We're not a user, we are the UZ.
But
You're using us. 100%. The entire
How
lot.
it's zoned as well still plays a factor into it as well, correct?
Well, we found out that because it was a PUD, but they gave the entire easement as a wetland and as a drainage. And then there's 3 giant culverts that go onto the property, and there's nothing, that's where it all comes from, the whole area.
Okay.
It goes out there.
So let's do this. Let's kind of do a review of the property internally and get back a concise statement to you next meeting. And
No problem. I mean, we're just trying to get through everything it said. It says,
I'll cover the
private stormwater
$5 if it doesn't.
facility, by the way,
If it
is,
doesn't, if it turns out that it should be zoned something different.
and it says it's a detention basin, okay, or,
Yeah.
other equipment, blah, 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 and it talks about everything else that's not under the control. And then it says a retention pond, by definition, which is the next sentence,
Mhm.
talks about it as a natural body of water.
Yes.
Okay, so there's two elements, it doesn't.
I
it doesn't have to be
understand what you're
constructed.
getting at, but it gets to the point where you've had your allotted 3 minutes, and we're only gonna break this into,
Oh, no, I understand, that's why they said, bring it up and say, hey, we can figure out what the next steps would be.
let's figure out what,
Definition.
let's review it internally here with Don and the town, and we'll be able to have a decision for your next meeting. Is that okay?
No, that's fine, I have no issues with that, I'm just trying to get everything cleared up, that's what we
Yeah.
want to do. It was weird, it just started, you know, they finally did get it made up to the right person.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. The man that needs no introduction.
No.
Robert H. Carnahan, 14850 Fairbanks Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana, 46303. I am a Cedar Lake Town Council member, and I am the representative for the town on Northwest Indiana Regional Planning. And at our previous meeting, I met a gentleman named William Martin, who is the Public Safety Director for North Fork Southern. And we had drains underneath the railroad that are plugged up. And so I'm just letting you know that. Don, have you been able to contact that gentleman yet that I sent you the card on?
We are waiting to hear back from the other people we've contacted first. We already have we already have an inroad with them, and we have basically a ticket number with them in a way.
Okay,
So we're
well,
waiting on them.
I talked to him and he said if you called him, he would help you,
Okay,
okay?
yep.
So I just wanted you to be aware of that.
Good deal. Thanks for looking out for the town. All right, if there's no other public comments, we'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much, everyone.